There's a famous quote from an English clergyman preaching a sermon a little over 100 years ago, which goes, "Death is nothing at all," and goes on, "I've only slipped into the next room, just think of me and speak to me as you always did." What people don't always realize is that the same sermon went on with something just like the quote that you said, that actually we have to balance that sense that somebody has just slipped away peacefully with this horrible, wrenching loss. The last time that I suffered a major bereavement, which was when my father died 3 years ago, I went through what I know everyone goes through, which is that you do the whole thing, you have the funeral, you think it's terrible, you go back home and you want to call up the person who's just died to chat to them about it. And it's, silly things like that, that then really you realize this is final, they've gone, that's it. And we have to face that. And Christians have not always been good at facing that because we've tried to say, well, because we believe in hope, we shouldn't grieve even. And that's absolutely devastating, psychologically devastating, pastorally devastating. That, of course, grief is the shadow side of love. And when you love someone and they're gone, you grieve. And if you bottle that up, it'll be bad for you in all sorts of ways. But of course, the big difference is that within the Jewish hope, as expressed in some strands of Jewish belief in the first century, particularly the group called the Pharisees held this belief, they believed that creation is the work of a good God, and that though it has gone radically wrong, this good God is going to sort it out. And he's going to sort it out not by abolishing the space-time universe and physicality, but by recreating it. And so that was a Jewish hope which focused particularly on times of persecution when people were being killed because they adhered to the Jewish faith. 2 centuries before Jesus, this was going on. And so people who believed that God would sort this mess out said, well, actually, when God sorts this mess out, the people who have died in the struggle in the meantime, he will raise them to new life as well. And there are things in the ancient Hebrew scriptures which pointed in that direction. And then it's in that context that the early church believed that after Jesus had been crucified, put to death violently, that he was raised to a new kind of bodily life. And so that inevitably colors everything else we think about death. But it doesn't take away the shock and the fact and the horror of death. It doesn't mitigate the awfulness of dire illnesses, of terrible accidents, of terrorist atrocities, etc. They are just as dire as they were. It doesn't mean, oh yes, that doesn't matter. It means there is a hope, but to get to that hope, you have to go through this extraordinary valley of shadow.